Okay, so good morning and thanks for coming, or good afternoon, sorry, and thanks for coming. So let me start by saying that we have we have an agent in country who's situated in Pretoria. They are Rutega Education. Now, Rutega have also invited people to come to this webinar, as did I. They've been with us for a very, very long time. So they really do know our degrees. They've been to Sydney, they know the campus, and they understand our processes. So applying through the agent is basically having a face-to-face person that you can actually, discuss what you need and get the application process through them. And discuss things with them as well, so that they're very much able to, give you the information that you need. But more importantly, getting that application process through. And the other thing is actually helping you with your student visa, which can be a little bit tricky. So all of those services that Rutega supply or provide are free of charge to the student. Okay. So whilst you're here, we hope that you will discover Sydney. We are Australia's largest and most dynamic city. We've been voted one of the world's friendliest cities and one of the top 10 most livable cities. We are very popular for international students. We have over 35,000 international students in Sydney at the moment, and those numbers go up year on year. And we are extremely multicultural, a very multicultural city. In terms of campuses, as you can see, this is an air view of the city. And just to give you an idea, we are at Camperdown, Darlington, which is 5 minutes from the Central Business District. In the Central Business District, postgraduate business students avail themselves to that particular campus, but there's also classes at Camperdown. So postgraduate students basically can go between the two. Surrey Hills is where dentistry lives at the moment, and we can't see that changing because we have had a couple of other campuses which are shown here, which have already come or are in the process of coming onto the Camperdown campus. The Sydney Conservatorium of Music, that is in the CBD as well. So if you were interested in vet science, for example, becoming a veterinarian, we do have a vet science faculty at Camperdown, but because there's a lot of work with animals, we can only house smaller animals there. So you would be doing work with smaller animals at Camperdown, but things working with horses and sheep and cattle. That is something that, we need a lot of room for. So that's done at Camden, and that's about 60 kilometres away, but it's its own little village and, has accommodation and all sorts of things on that campus. But anyway, that gives you an idea of where we are located, so close to the city. So you can actually discover Sydney if that's, apart from studying with us, of course. So we're Australia's first university. We were founded in 1850 and modelled on Oxford and Cambridge. And that's because when we first opened, before we actually opened our doors, that's where Australians went to get their degrees. So we're ranked 42 in the world, which, in a field of over 22,000 universities globally, that's quite an achievement. And entry to the Sydney-based programs is basically on academic merit. Now, this is what we looked like around about 1850. And so, at that stage, we were able to house cows, as you can see in the picture. So we're actually built on a hill. So before the city of Sydney has blossomed into what it is today, the location of this campus was purposely built here on a hill, and no matter where you were in its proximity, you could see it. And basically to show that education is a very, very important part of anyone's lifestyle. So the best and brightest minds live here. So we have taught 7 prime ministers, 2 Nobel laureates, 3 astronauts, Rhodes Scholars, Pulitzer Prize winner, and 145 Olympians. And in the Olympian area, we may have a few others that will be added to that list. We're a very sporting country, as South Africans are, so I guess that's probably not a big surprise. But you will also be joining our 70,000 students. We have 70,000 students enrolled at the University of Sydney. They come from over 145 nationalities. South African students are also represented in that. And we do have 25,000 international students in that number. 8,500 staff members and over 280,000 global alumni. So what can you study? We actually do have over 400 study areas available. And as you can see in that list, we go across many study areas, and we have a very comprehensive offering. These are subject rankings, so you can see that we're ranked in the top 50 for quite a number of subjects going across all our faculties and schools. So that's just to give you an indication that, you know, we are not just the university as a whole, but the subjects and courses that we have available are highly ranked as well. So we have 2 semesters for our year. Semester 1 starts in early March, sometimes late February. Takes you right through to the beginning of June. You will then sit exams in June, have a bit of a holiday, and then come back for semester 2, which is either the very last day of July or early August, and that will take you right through to early November, where then more tests are done, and then you have 3 months off and to do pretty much a lot. What a lot of our international students do is they do tend to go back home a little bit to spend some time with their families, or they actually do a little bit of work and travel. So we are just more than a classroom. So we have over 200 clubs and societies available, and we have sports and clubs and a whole bunch of different types of societies and clubs. And well, what we normally say is we certainly encourage everybody to take advantage of those, because you're going to be meeting people across the university, not just within your own faculties or schools. And it does give you the opportunity to build your networks and participate in other areas, depending on what you do within those clubs and societies, to, you know, get sort of different skill sets and really, really make the most of your experience whilst you're in Sydney. So we have a graduate employability ranking, which is given to us by our peers. And we've been ranked 1st in Australia and 5th in the world in this area. So basically what that means is that the University of Sydney degree does mean something. Our graduates are very well respected in the employability area. So we're quite proud of that ranking. So in terms of degrees and how to apply, we're just going to go into that for now. So when can you apply? Well, you can actually apply 18 months to 24 months before commencement. Now, the application close dates for most degrees is semester 1, 31 January, if you are starting in March. But for international students, the reality is, because you've got visas to attend to and you have travel arrangements, the real closing date there would be the end of October. I would strongly recommend that all international students have all their applications in by the end of October. And if you're starting in semester 2, then that says 30 June there, but the reality should be the 30th of April to give you a chance to be able to get your visas and get your travel arrangements organised, as well as accommodation. You can defer your offers for up to a year. Now, that is, I'm generalising there because I do know that there are particular degrees where you cannot defer. So all that means is that if you have chosen a degree that there is no deferral, and an example of that would be the Master of Physiotherapy, the Master of Exercise Physiology, and things like that. There are some others. Then all it means is that you have to reapply. So how it would work is you would have to apply with an undergraduate degree that obviously, shows your GPA, and any other additional requirements. So if your degree needs a CV or some other requirement, and all of those things have been put forward, and we would call that a complete degree, then you would simply get an unconditional offer, and then you need to accept that offer. You can still apply even if you don't have all your documents, and there's no reason why you can't do this. So you would apply perhaps with, a transcript that shows what you have achieved thus far, because you still have to complete it, for example. And you may have to, supply a few other documentation. You can still put an application in. What you would get is a conditional offer, but you're in the system. And then at some point, you would have to be providing the missing documents, at which point you would then get an unconditional offer and accept the offer if that's what you choose to do. So here we have health, medicine and dentistry. These are health degrees. As you can see, we're quite highly ranked in sports science, nursing and medicine. And we do actually have the largest health courses in Australia, the largest range. So here's the Doctor of Medicine and the Doctor of Dental Medicine, which its process is exactly the same. So you do need an undergraduate degree. It can be from any discipline, and you will need a credit grade average or better, which in Australian standards, 65% or better. So if you're presenting your degrees, your undergraduate degrees from South Africa, it would have to equate to that. Generally, there's no problem. English language requirements, well, that doesn't apply to South Africa because you are an English-speaking country and quite proficient. The other thing is the admissions test requirement, which is what we call the GAMSAT or the MCAT, which is a general examination for all students that want to become medical practitioners or dentists. So being in South Africa, you would do the MCAT, the MCAT. We call it the GAMSAT here in Australia. So if a domestic student was doing it, or you were already in Australia wanting and having to do it, it would be called the GAMSAT. So that's the only differentiation. And if it was dentistry, you would be doing the CDAT. The results of those need to be finalised, and once all of those items are in our admissions area, you will then be invited to attend an interview. So just so that you know, the applications for, say, 2020 commencement for next year, they have, that all has sort of opened in May this year and ended on the 20th of June. So for 2021, it's closed. That timeline is how it happens year on year, basically. And so for 2021 applicants, the same process. So applications would open in early May next year, and it would close around about the 20th of June, same year, and for commencement the year after, in 2021. Law, this is also, we're ranked 12th in the world for the law programs. So I'm going to just quickly go to the Master of Laws first, because the Juris Doctor is on the next page. So the Master of Laws is 1 year program. These are for people that have already done law and are looking to tailor what they need in whatever capacity they are professionally working in at that time. So, you could be working for a corporate, for example, and you might want to do a master's in law and particularly focus on corporate law, for example. So that's what that is all about. In Australia, you basically do this because it also counts to your continuing professional knowledge base, which is a requirement here in Australia. So the Juris Doctor is a 3-year full-time degree. This is the degree that you would do. It's like it's a graduate entry master's. So if you don't already have a law degree and you want to be a lawyer, you would do the JD and be able then to practice. If you're from overseas, as you would be, you can actually have a law degree, but you may want to do law in Australia or practice in Australia. So this is the degree that you would have to do, because it is the one that accredits you for practice in Australia. So this particular degree is quite high demand. So applications are ranked by merit, and then the offers are made based on that. Vet Science, number 1 in the world and number 1 in Australia and 9th in the world. So that's a fairly popular one too. Again, you need an undergraduate degree with a credit grade average or better. There are prerequisites, so you will have to have studied the subjects as mentioned below. That's all stated there in basically general chemistry, biology, biochemistry, and organic chemistry. So we've given people this information. It is on the website, where they can take a look at what, if you've done these subjects yourself, that they actually meet and marry up to the requirements that we have here. And this degree also needs an admission statement. It's a form that is provided. You complete that form, it's online, or it can be given to you by Rutega if you're going to use Rutega. And so long, you complete the form, and it has to include 28 days of relevant work experience and animal handling experience. So in the business space, we have the MBA, Leadership and Enterprise. It's become quite popular. It's a full-time degree, over 18 months. It has integrated optional internships that can be completed during the study break. So this is a very hands-on degree. You do need an undergraduate degree, obviously, with credit grade average. And you also need a minimum of 3 years relevant working experience. If you are in a leadership role, if you have many years of experience but don't have an undergraduate degree, you can do the GMAT, which is a general degree. Score has to be 600 plus, and then you can actually apply even though you don't have an undergraduate degree. So you will be considered for this program if you've got more than 3 years experience. Other areas in the business, other degrees in the business area is the Master of Commerce. We do have quite a lot there for very specific, for people with very specific needs. But the Master of Commerce seems to be the more popular one because it actually has majors within it. You can choose different subjects that may be more to your area of preference. So you can tailor it basically, and it is a 2-year program. But we also have the Master of Management and Master of Management, SEMS. SEMS is, we've been able to achieve membership to SEMS, and we're the only Australian university that has. And what SEMS is a group of corporates, very popular in Europe, this degree, is a group of corporates that will allow our students to go to any of those chosen corporates and do a real life project with them. These are real projects. So because they're being done within the areas, within the corporations that belong to the SEMS, it's considered quite elite. So we're quite happy that we were able to achieve membership to this group. Arts and social sciences, we have an incredible range under this space, and we can sort of categorise them. As you also can see, we're quite highly ranked in both the humanities and social sciences. So we have quite a lot of degrees, as I've said, under social and political sciences. You can see human rights there, international studies, health security, and a number of different ones. Master of Peace and Conflict Studies is also quite popular as well. Economics and media and communication degrees come under the arts space. And we have what we call the Executive Master of Arts and Social Sciences. This degree has been designed, or had been designed, for those that wanted to move into, they're already in leadership roles, but they wanted to move into executive positions. And basically because of their arts and social sciences background, they will concentrate on very specific transferable areas, such as the critical thinking space. I'm just trying to get the page where I've got all this information. So bear with me just for a moment. Yeah. So I can tell you a little bit. It's kind of new. It's a bit new, this one. So it basically looks at ethical reasoning, critical analysis, and focuses on cultural awareness, public policy analysis. So in our diverse world of today, these skills are very favoured. So it doesn't really matter where you're working, having this knowledge base and wanting to be an executive in any commercial sense or government sense, these are very transferable skill sets, whilst concentrating on the areas that in the areas that you are working in. And we have postgraduate degrees under arts and culture and the visual arts space as well. So as I said, very comprehensive degrees for anyone that's interested in looking at those. Education and social work, we're Australia's oldest teaching school. We're ranked 12th in the world. Teaching degrees obviously have a lot of practical training, a lot of field work and placements. We have very strong links with practitioners already, and once you've completed degrees, you are accredited as a teacher or a social worker, because social work comes under education and social work faculty. So in the teaching and education space, you can see that there are different degrees in early childhood or health and physical education, primary school, counselling and secondary school. We have educational management and leadership, and so on and so forth. There are some other ones there, like the Master of Indigenous Languages and Education, if that's an area that interests people, that we have it available. But the ones that I just wanted to cover is social work and social work qualifying. So what is the difference between these two? Social work, the Master of Social Work is a one-year program, and it doesn't lead to accreditation. But it may be just something that you want to do because wherever you're working, whatever space you're working, you feel that that information is going to be very useful for you. But it doesn't mean that you can actually practice as a social worker. Master of Social Work qualifying, on the other hand, allows you accreditation, which means that you will be a qualified social worker, and it is a 2-year program. Under the science space, we have postgraduate degrees that cover agriculture and environment, clinical psychology, sustainability, nutrition and dietetics. So there is quite a number of degrees in the postgraduate space under our science faculty. So just on all the degrees, all the postgraduate degrees, generally, the most common in terms of duration is basically 1 year to 2 years. Then we also have things like 3-year JD and vet science, which allows you to become a practicing practitioner at postgraduate level. They are graduate entry masters. And then, of course, we have the medical degrees and dental degrees, which are 4 years. So that's basically the trajectory of the time frames of those degrees. Scholarships and funding. So we have what's called the Vice Chancellor's International Scholarship. These you do not need to apply for. That's because we award them based on academic merit. So what would happen is that all the degrees are assessed. They're then converted into what that means and translated into, 65% grade point average or better. Those that score the highest, and they're all ranked, those that score the highest basically get awarded the scholarships. So this one has 4 different tiers in terms of value. So one is a $40,000 value. The other is $20,000, $10,000 and $5,000. Now these are one-off payments only. Then there are faculty scholarships that may be available. There's not an enormous amount in this space in terms of, for international students, but they're looking at re-looking at those. And sports scholarships. Now, most people think of sports scholarships as they are awarded in the United States of America. This particular one is not that way. It's actually called the Elite Athletes Program. And you actually have to be enrolled at the University of Sydney. But if you are an elite athlete, and we have to then define what that means. So if you are performing at regional, state or national level in your own country or in South Africa, and you have, coaches and you've been playing with your rugby team or whatever it might be, you would obviously have your coaching staff and your managers and what have you that could, support the fact that you are an elite athlete. So all that being taken into consideration, once you enroll, you can give that information to our Elite Athletes Program administration team. They are on campus. And then you can continue to do your sport as well as study. The reason why this is a good program is because it does give you money. If you need to go interstate or even overseas, funding is provided. Based on whatever it is that you need. And it's usually up to $10,000 though. But more importantly, if you are an elite athlete, you need to be supported in terms of your studies. So negotiating exams at a different time because you've been representing University of Sydney or whoever, over the past, say, weeks, and it was exam time. So negotiations of all that is done by the administration team in this program. So you don't have to worry about any of that. So this is where the support is quite good. And tuition, like private tuition, if you have fallen back because of your sport, then tutors are actually provided to you however long you need them for, and as many times as you need them. So this is really a program that supports elite athletes that come to us and that want to continue with their sport, but also want to study. So you'll all need to apply for a student visa to study in Australia, and that visa will also allow you to work 40 hours every fortnight or 20 hours a week. And but during your vacation time, there are no restrictions. Now, as I said, Rutega Education, our agent in South Africa, they understand this process extremely well. And I do know for a fact, because I have been there and I've seen them in action, they go out to the students that they have put in applications for and give them reminders as to, right, now is the time that we need these for your visa. This is now what you need. You know, we need this done for your visa. So that is a progressive thing, and they do that extremely well. Accommodation, we have quite a number available. University residences, private accommodation, residential colleges that have meals included, and the two, Sancta Sophia and St. Paul's, they're actually colleges on our premises, and they provide rooms for international students that may need it. So Sancta Sophia is a girls' college, and St. Paul's is a boys' college, but that's the kind of thing that is available. It does range from around about $350 per week right up to about $600, $650 per week. So it just depends on what your budget might be and what you're actually looking for, if you want all meals included, if you're not interested in meals. You know, it just depends on what you, how you want to work it. A lot of students in the undergraduate space, you know, and even in our postgraduate space, do prefer to spend at least 6 months to a year on campus, and then perhaps if they're in a degree that, you know, takes them to a second or third year, they will then look at the private accommodation once they've learned the lay of the land a bit and be able to maybe save some more money on accommodation by sharing with other students. So some useful links, prospective students, which is yourselves. I do, you know, you're very welcome to email me. I'm very happy to answer all questions. But I've also given you Rutega's email address there, so that you can actually go to them directly as well. And as I said, they're able to see you face to face and answer any of your concerns. I've also given you our page to the scholarships area and the accommodation area. And hopefully you'll be able to email and let us know, you know, after this evening, of course, you can email and let us know anything else that you need to know. And just on that note, I might just say that I will actually be in South Africa in September, so it's not too far away now. Now, Rutega is organising all the itinerary. So she'll be, when I say she, I mean Elsa Marie, who is with us tonight, will be able to send you, you know, exactly where we are and invite you to our information session. So you'll have an opportunity to meet with me and discuss anything further in person in September. If you can make it, we'd love to see you. Oh, and we will be in Pretoria and Cape Town for this trip. So I think now, what do I need to do? Oh dear. Okay. All right. So, okay, I'm just now going to go through these questions. Yeah. So, Justine, I'll take a look at what, I'll see first if there's other questions, because we actually had a bit of a chat before everyone else arrived. Master of Business, scholarships and bursaries. I hope I've covered that well, Ilona. We are here, okay. Oh, intimately. Sorry, Elsa Marie. Can everyone hear me now? Gosh. Ilona, how do you work out the score for the MBA? The score for the MBA? When you, I'm assuming that you mean what does the 65% equivalency mean? I'm assuming that is the 65% average for the total 3 years of undergraduate or for each year. No, it's for the 3 years overall. So how do we work out the score? Our admissions team basically do that, but I believe that if you are, I'm not sure how, your undergraduate degrees, do you have an actual GPA or is it a percentage? If it's a percentage, I would say anything that is 70%, 65 to 75% minimum. I think even with South Africa, the 65% may be there, but let's work on a 70%. If you're able to achieve that, you should not have any problems in meeting the the academic requirement. But remember, with the MBA, you need 3 years of working experience as well. And if you don't have the correct academic requirement, you can do the GMAT, which is the business test that most people wanting to do, postgraduate business degrees must do. And that score, alongside with your experience, can be taken into consideration. So after obtaining a degree in MD medicine, will you be internationally recognised? The answer to that is yes, but in your own countries, and this is true of any country, in your own countries, you will have a requirement that your profession needs before you can practice. So what the best thing to do is to take a look at your accrediting body for medical practitioners in South Africa, and you will have an international degree, and find out what it is that you may have to do extra, if anything, in order to be able to practice in your own country. So this is something that is quite normal across the world. So it does depend on the specific requirements of your profession within your country that will determine whether you just need to sit a test with your professional body, whether you may need to do a particular extra unit. I've not heard that be the case, to be fair. But it is the best way to know is to go to your professional body in South Africa and tell them that you're wanting to do the Doctor of Medicine, an Australian degree, and whether, what else would you have to do once that degree has been achieved. But I think you'll find that it's quite transferable. Do we need to submit our high school transcripts as well, or just our university? No, just your university one, because the requirement is an undergraduate degree. So just your high school, your university transcripts. Amir, hi. Are the scholarships for South African students who have been accepted for coursework master's programs? The scholarships are for all international students. So it's not just South African students. So this particular scholarship did have specific countries, but that was removed last year. So we're just making it any international student. So you would be competing with other international students. Ilona, you spoke of. The 600 plus score you spoke of, that's for the GMAT. So for example, if you were wanting to do the master, one of our business degrees, and or the MBA in particular, and you didn't meet the requirements, you need a 65% or better Australian standard. If, say, for example, and this has happened, you've come in at 60%, okay, it doesn't mean that it's over for you. What it means is that you have the opportunity of sitting the GMAT and then being able to score that 600 is the minimum. Just to give you an indication, those that have been doing the GMAT, the minimum score that we've had thus far is 630. But you need a minimum of 600 so that you can then be, given an opportunity to gain entry to that degree. So that's what the 600 score is about. It relates to the GMAT. Okay, thank you, Ilona. Wonderful. That's answered my question. Thanks. Justine says, thanks so much for answering all my questions. Can we register for the MCAT through Rutega? The MCAT is, it's actually an online process. I'm sure Rutega can assist you, but if you actually go online and just Google MCAT, you will find all the information that you need. It will tell you when those tests are available to be done. You normally would have to book them in. I think there is a fee associated to that. So Google it first, and Rutega, I'm sure, can assist you as well. You're welcome, Justine. Okay, I seem to have run out of questions. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask that you can think about? Thank you for answering my question. You're very welcome, Amir. Thank you so much for the session. You're very welcome, Ilona. So, good girl, Elsa Marie. So you can talk to Elsa Marie from Rutega at any time. And I really do hope, if I might close this session soon, but I really do hope that there will be some time for you to pop in and visit, because sometimes when you're face-to-face, it is easier to go through things, and you might think of different things that you may not have asked tonight. So you, as I said, welcome to email Elsa Marie at Rutega. You're welcome to email me. And you're very, very welcome to meet me when I'm in South Africa. It will be lovely to actually meet up. If you do come, bring all your documentation with you so we can go through it and, help you with whatever it is that's there, and be able to advise appropriately. Looking forward to meeting you in September. Thank you, Amir. That's great. So I have one taker at the moment. So hopefully, yes, it'll be good. So as I said to you, I'm not sure whether, I think I did say this, Elsa Marie, who is looking after my full itinerary, will be able to invite you to come and let you know when the dates are and when the sessions are. And hopefully, you'll be able to all come if you can. So that looks like it might be it. All right, well, I'm going to close this session and say thank you very much for listening and for your interest in the University of Sydney. And hopefully you can become our next wave of scholars. Okay.